Hey yo guys, it's me Iceberg and today I'm checking out the TinHIFI T6 for about $119 with the 1DD and one planar driver configuration. But here we have a microplanar driver, which isn't the same as, let's say, in the Pit to Ultra, so keep that in mind. Basically this is flagship model of the T series, offering completely redesigned metal shells and a bunch of accessories, which we'll talk about right now. So let's get into it. Well, the T6 comes in a very simple cubic box, where inside you find the shells themselves, made of matte aluminum alloy, pretty light and well ventilated thanks to several vents right next to the nozzle, with a unique wood pattern on the faceplates and replaceable green nozzles inside, which I find to be the best choice for this set. Next we have a 2-pin QDC cable with a modular connection system, which I do appreciate of course, because we can connect these to different sources. But as you know, QDC connectors, even though very reliable here, but do not really fit my ear anatomy, so in this case I used a different 2-pin cable from Everything. Then we get a case with the ear tips. The first set is a liquid silicone tips, the second is a rounded grey tips, and the third set is a foam tips with a memory effect, or something like that. Next we get two types of the nozzles, a black one for the reference tuning, which is a bit sharp in the treble range, and a picker nozzle that smooth out the upper range, which is better suited for gaming as TinHIFI says. Also we have a DIY kit with replaceable meshes for the nozzles and vents, along with additional acoustic foam for more precise sound tuning. So guys, here you can really let your imagination run wild. And of course we have a nice orange case to store all of these. Getting back to the shells, they are small, lightweight and ergonomically designed, so they fit quite comfy in the ears once I get the right fit. Because if you push them into deep, you get a vacuum effect, and if they're not too deep enough, you will get a poor sound oscillation, and of course it takes a little time to fiddle with them. And the only downside I found is the driver flags, you know, that light crackling of the membrane when you put these shells in. And of course a slight coldness, so you have to wait for your ears to warm up the housing. Otherwise the T6 offers a pretty enjoyable user experience, but be aware that the oscillation isn't the best here, due to the well-ventilated body, so you'll have to find a quiet place for comfy listening at the moderate volume. Anyway, the sound in T6 is delivered by one dynamic driver and a small planar, which essentially looks like a standard balanced armature, and the tuning here is highly customizable thanks to the several nozzles, acoustic foam and other things for more precise adjustment, so everyone can find a setup that suits their preferences. If you look at the graph, we can see a mild V-shaped signature with the sub-bass shelf raised by 7 dB relative to the mid-range, a pretty flat but recessed mid-range with a smooth and natural rise toward the upper mids, and the smooth out treble with the peak at 80 Hz for clarity, which I'm sure won't bother anyone. And if you compare this green nozzle with the others, it's easy to see that the peak nozzle has more bass and mid-range presence, but less airiness in the treble, which is probably better suited for the gaming, while the black nozzles does the opposite. Here we get more presence in the treble and upper mid-range with the peak at 2.5 kHz, sacrificing bass and mid-range, which could be potentially a bit harsh for some. By the way, thanks to JTs for this measurement. So I choose the green nozzle and let me tell about my impressions. Well, I do the T6 with a 4.4 balanced cable, turned on something like Somewhere Only We Know by Keen to feel the soundstage along with the upper register of the vocals, and was a little unhappy with the result, because it sounded closed, muffled, kinda like there was a wall between us. Okay, thinking there was something wrong with me that evening, I left the T6 to burn in a bit and went to do my thing. And the next day before putting them on, I checked the nozzles and found this acoustic foam inside, which I removed and then turned on the same track once again, and yeah, it sounds completely different. Firstly, we get a cleaner and more transparent sound without losing any bass, but the mids and treble sound more realistic, and most importantly, that slight muffled sound is gone, like when the soundstage is 100 meters away from you. I think you understand what I mean. So guys, I highly recommend removing all damping materials from the sound path if you find yourself in the same situations as I was. Okay, on a happy note, the next track is my favorite live version of Take On Me by Aha, when Morton vocals at the beginning sound amazingly clear, articulated and penetrating, but without sibilance and with a good instrumental backing that didn't drown him out but harmoniously complement his voice, making the picture complete. I would say this performance would be perfect for me, if not the slight thinnest, in the lower mid-range. So the vocals in the lower register didn't have the weight I would like, but on the other hand, the upper range was simply wow, with a nice sparkle, detail and smooth extension, which even in small planar can provide. Guys, I leave the links to this performance in the description, so you should listen and tell me about your impressions in the comments below the video. Well, talking about the bass, this is more sub-bass oriented model, where it goes really deep, delivers a springy rumble, and leaves a long, vibrating tail. Don't get me wrong, this is definitely not a bass head vibe, even if you use pink nozzles, but rather a more balanced tuning, though it can certainly provide a good foundation, making the sound more spacious and immersive. The mid-bass here has good punch, a dense and fluffy texture, and is well controlled, but it's quite fast, so it doesn't leave a pleasant aftertaste like the sub-bass does. You know, if the sub-bass here feels like a powerful wave, then the mid-bass is more like a spray from the can, and this is main compromise in the bass region. Moving to the mid-range, this is pretty friendly Harman target tuning, where we get a fairly boosted lower mid-range, followed by a smooth but somewhat recessed mid-range, and the focus on the upper mid-range, so the vocals and instruments sounds more present and articulate. And yeah, that's exactly how it is. But for me personally, I found the lower mids a bit lacking, so lower male vocals sounded thin and light, which I didn't fully enjoy listening to rock or metal, for example. On the other hand, I was satisfied with the vocals in the upper mids, so I enjoyed listening to high female and male vocals, which sounded ethereal, sparkling, with plenty of air and expressiveness. Talking about the instruments, here they are positioned slightly behind the vocals and sound musically beautiful, remaining clean and transparent, and I didn't find anything that sounded overly artificial for me. Okay, the treble is the most exciting part here because it's handled by a planar driver, which is slightly smaller than the ones we get in fully planar IEMs. Here this planar driver delivers a pretty smooth, silky and non-fatiguing treble with sibilant control, and that's his main feature. Of course, it's not so extended and detailed as large planar, and obviously there is no airiness in the ultra treble because a mini planar cannot deliver that. But instead, we get a pleasant softness, clarity and delicate delivery. And if you find the treble isn't bright enough, you can try black nozzles. They'll give you the maximum brightness that this set is capable of, with all its pros and cons. Alright, and finally the soundstage here is more focused on the width and depth, but it still remains quite modest in its size. Once again, this is not most the spacious soundstage like in many planar IEMs, but rather a more intimate and immersive one, like a small room where the vocals are centered and positioned closer, followed by the instruments, with the bass, reverbs and echoes in the background. And this sounds good if you listen to vocal-oriented genres, acoustic or live performances, but it will be challenging for rock, metal and anything that requires more space. Regarding the separation and imaging, I would say it's average, not the best and not the worst, where everything is well separated in calm moments, but can get a bit messy in intense ones. However, I especially enjoyed the microdynamics and transitions in here, which were fast yet smooth enough, so each track felt like a cohesive piece without a ladder effect, if you know what I mean. Well, in conclusion, TinHIFI T6 are probably the most customizable IEMs I ever had, where you can tune them to almost any sound profile you wanna. Want more brightness? Just go with the black nozzles. And if you want more bass presence by smoothing out the treble, then the big nozzles are the way to go. Personally, I went with the pre-installed green nozzles, but without the acoustic foam, and after removing it, I got the sound I basically expect from this set. I expect for the slight thin lower mid-range, so low male vocals sounded a bit lighter than they actually are. In the end, my final rating is a 7.5 out of 10, and I would say the lack of the lower mids and the driver flex are the main drawbacks of this model, and I would recommend them to anyone who has enough time to fund their own tuning, and the DIY kit with the replaceable nozzles can help you with that. These are not entry-level IEMs, and the sound is something you need to get used to, so guys, keep that in mind. Many thanks to the TinHIFI for sending me this sample, and you can find the purchase link in the description below the video. So be sure to check them out, because you can get the T6 at a good discount right now. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button and subscribe for more. This was Iceberg, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!